much like Victor Baker. There might be a couple of child endangerment charges in this post.
It's given me Thor's hammer. 2 raging book nerds, 14 years of friendship, and 1 burning question.
If Katniss Everdeen posted on Reddit, would she be the arsehole?
Welcome to Once Upon a Red Flag. This season, we're stepping into Pan Am, where every tribute, tyrant, and mentor gets their day in the Am I the Asshole courtroom.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Rachel.
And join us while we read between the red flags and break down the Hunger Games, one questionable decision at a time. Welcome back, everybody, to episode 12 of Once Upon a Red Flag. We are after the mid-season break, so thanks so much for coming back. I know we probably had some pretty different content in between, but we are excited that you're back with us.
Yeah, we did. We sort of, I think we let our imaginations run wild a little bit and talked about the things that we usually can't fit into one of these episodes because they're so blooming long to begin with.
Yeah, they are. They're very long, especially when you have to edit them over and over and over and over again. So I really hope everybody enjoys the ramble, understands the ramble. What's the icebreaker for this week, Rachel?
So I have a question to ask you. I know what my answers are, but what are your answers? So
okay.
We're at the very beginning of Mockingjay, and we start this book with Katniss back in District 12 after it has been destroyed. And she's looking around the destruction and heads back to her house in the Victor's village, and she visits the one in the Seam as well. And she does this on multiple occasions. So I think she goes back for the propaganda shoot and takes more items as well. But she rescues things from District 12, things that are important to her and her family. So she takes back her father's jacket, Prim's cat Buttercup, and her mum's medical supplies because they'll be of use in District 13. If this was you, what 3 items of your own would you be looking to rescue?
It's really difficult, especially when you're only letting me take 3 things. Really mean, by the way. Why 3?
3 things. It's like if you're on a desert island, what's the one thing you're taking note? If your house is destroyed, what 3 things are you looking to rescue? It's a bit darker than usual, really, isn't it?
Yeah, at least with a desert island, you're on a desert island. I think if my entire home burned down for some horrible reason, which I just really don't want to think about, I would probably save a stuffed animal I've had for forever that I just couldn't replace. And you can buy them from flipping IKEA, but a new one wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
I'm 26 years old. I just want to say that. Going back for my stuff.
I'm saving a teddy as well. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay, now don't fall. That's weird.
I'm saving the teddy. I'm saving the one I got on my first anniversary trip to York with Tom. I came home with a teddy bear and a camera.
Nice.
And a hoodie.
Nice.
A Pizza Planet hoodie from when we had Disney stores. So I'm bringing that teddy with me because it's too cute. And I think it's a jelly cat. If you look on the label, it's actually a jelly cat, but before jelly cat became big. So it's not a big jelly cat.
So
it's not like a proper jelly cat, but it's the jelly cat company making a teddy bear, like a traditional teddy bear. So I'm keeping it.
I've seen a croissant jelly cat that I really, really want. Not that anybody's going to buy me it, but maybe if I put it out into the universe, I will buy it myself.
It's the cost of a jelly cat, isn't it? It's
yeah, I know, that's so expensive.
Fair, I think this teddy bear is a generic teddy bear, but it was still 25 quid.
That's still quite
so
a lot.
wasn't even that cheap, to be honest.
But what would I say? I would save my teddy bear. I would save I've got a really nice fancy illustrated hardback copy of all the Grimm's fairy tales. I would save that just because I haven't found it anywhere else. I don't think I would find it again. Don't think I could replace it. And probably couldn't live without my heated blanket if I'm being completely honest. But it might be because I might have been getting a bit obsessed with it since I got it for Christmas.
But is that a heated blanket?
Heated blanket, yeah. I don't know how I would escape with it if the place was on fire, but
you'd think the blanket would probably cause the fire. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh, don't say that because I sleep with it every night. Now I'm not going to sleep. Thanks, Rachel. What would you say? What are your 2 other things? You mentioned one was a teddy.
Yeah, so I've got the teddy. My Kobo, I think my Kobo, because let's face it, all these books behind me, it's just kindling. Let's be honest. that's probably going to be the first thing to go up in flames. But my Kobo has, because I have a big like downloading problem and buying problem for 99p, I have a couple of $100 on there, easy, that I've been collecting for years and years and years. And when you could download them from Amazon before they announced they were going to stop that, I went and downloaded all my bought ebooks from Amazon. That took ages. So I want to keep the rewards for my effort for that, because that took me so many hours that I need it. Like if that burnt down now, if I lost all those ebooks, I think I'd genuinely be really, really upset.
No, you wouldn't be upset at the fact that your house had burned down.
No. I mean, that's a given. If you saw where I lived, you would know. To be fair, though, actually, I'm not very far from a fire station. Literally, like 2 minutes, and they'd be here. So really, the books behind me might be saved.
Well, I guess
they'd be drenched. They'll be drenched.
They'll be dry. Yeah, they'll be wet, but they'll dry, right?
Yeah. Do you think? To be fair, I do quite like it when you get a special edition sprayed edge and you like peel the edges apart for the first time. That would be my entire bookcase because they'd have fused shut. I did drop a book in the bathtub when I was a kid, and that did the same. The pages went all wrinkly, but they all stuck together, and it was really, really satisfying to peel them apart. I know I'm a weird one. What can I say? I really enjoyed that. My final item, going off what I use on an almost daily basis. It's not my phone. It's not my tablet. It's not my laptop. My loop earbuds. I'm obsessed.
Nice.
I am genuinely obsessed. I had them in my bag. We went to the cinema, me and my mum, the other month. And you know how you usually expect it to be kids in the cinema kicking up a fuss and kids to be kicking the back of your chair? No, there was 2 elderly gentlemen behind us who either didn't have their hearing aids in or just didn't care. And they spent the entire 2-hour film talking.
Oh, no.
And I can't block that out. If I hadn't, genuinely, I took my loops in my bag just before. This is not sponsored, by the way. Obviously, we're not big enough to be sponsored yet. But if you would like to sponsor me, Loop, that's fine by me. I put them in my bag on a whim, and they literally started talking. And I sort of went, you know what? Perfect fix. And I could still sort of hear them muttering a little bit, but so much easier to focus on the film. So much easier.
I hate when people do that. It really annoys me. Like I get like saying something in reaction to the film because it's like really funny, or like, oh, there's a twist or something like that, because like you're in a group setting and you're watching a film. But it's when they just start talking that like
he answered his phone. His phone rang, and he answered his phone.
No, that's not okay. That's not okay. I get really
genuinely
angry.
like. And my mum sat next to me, and I'm like, "How are you focusing? How?" She's like, "Oh, well, I can just tune out." And I'm like, "No, the brain that I've got, that would have been all that I heard throughout the entire experience. Would have been them just behind my shoulder." No. And then top it all off, they played the cheeky chappy as they walked into the women's restroom. I say restroom like an American. Literally, we all left the cinema, and you know how you go like, okay, right, I've sat down for 2 hours now, I need a wee. So you walk into the toilets, and I'm in the stall, and then I hear a guy's voice, and I'm like, what? Basically,
were you in the wrong one, or were they in the wrong one?
No, they were in the wrong one. Because everyone else who was in the theatre was pretty much a woman. It was what's the film called? Is it called like, I swear it was the one with the guy with Tourette's who won OB something for his service to mental health education with Tourette's and things like that. It was phenomenal film, but everyone else in there was like a woman of over the age of about 40, 50 on like an afternoon jaunt. And so I think they just followed us because they were sat at the back. They just followed us all into the toilets. Though why these guys thought it was a gender neutral toilet, I will never know. Because I thought their generation didn't like them. They don't want them. I thought that's why we had all these issues to begin with. But then literally the women come out of the cubicle, and I can hear this conversation going on, and the guys is like, Am I in the wrong one? Bearing in mind, he's seen the sanitary towel bin that I'm assuming don't exist in men's bathrooms.
Mm.
Seen that there are no urinals, it's all stalls, and then sort of gone, oh, I'm in the women's. Wash his hands, like, no apology, nothing.
In my defence, I've accidentally done that twice.
Yeah, but like, don't you look in and go, this ain't right?
I didn't. I used the loo, washed my hands and everything. But in my defence, I had just come off like an 18-hour travel day back from China.
That's
I didn't
fair.
think I knew what reality it was. I just needed the loo.
That's fair. You hadn't slept as well. To be fair, there's never a queue in the men's. Actually,
No. But that should have been my first thing when I realised there wasn't a queue.
Highly suspicious there's no queue. No, I read,
anyway.
just to be like the little nerdy part of me, I read Invisible Women. It's up there somewhere on the bookshelves. It's a book about women's inequality. And basically how the reason that there is always a queue for women's and never men's is that when architects design buildings, they literally give the exact same available space and cubicle like area to men and women, despite women taking about 3 times longer on average to use the bathroom. But they never give women a bigger bathroom. That's why we always have to wait after a concert.
Or at King's Cross Station.
There's a queue, but yeah, that's why there's always a queue about 100 people waiting to pee. Yeah.
And none of those lights over the store work. King's Cross, like, get them fixed. They're always green. There's always people in them. There's always women behind me yelling, "That's green!" It's not. There's someone in there every time. I hate it. Anyway, moving on from toilets, shall we get into the post today? Right, segueing away from toilets. I don't really know how we got there, but anyway, it is us. We're on to the post for this week. And this week it is drunk and disorderly. It's drunk
again.
Drunk and disorderly. My dyslexia doesn't reason. Right, never mind. Go moving on.
I'll put spaces in next time.
Yeah. Right. Am I the arsehole for turning rebellion into a reality show? So, we did indeed manage to overthrow our former president's dictatorship. Yay. But I'm not entirely convinced we went about it the right way. Oh, I celebrated a bit too soon. With the help of my colleague, we didn't just organise a rebellion, we produced one. It was storyboarded, edited, there was a stage, we costumed the whole production, scripted lines and segments, all in the name of getting people who were on the fence about the rebellion to fight back. And then we broke into the national airwaves and broadcast these propaganda shoots of our own to the whole country, which made sense at the time. This is how the capital has maintained control all these years, by only showing their twisted narrative. Now we just gave people an alternative point of view that they've been sorely missing.
Fair enough.
But it quickly got a little out of control. Okay, here we go. The plan was to make a trauma... What? What? The plan was to make The plan was to make a traumatized teenage girl, the face of the rebellion, since she already had so much sway with country citizens. We did manage to finally get her on board, but we should have known that scripting her was never going to be the way to go. She can't act, but give her a situation to work within and she can be pure gold. Those situations became increasingly dangerous. She's a teenage girl, right? Yeah. Those situations became increasingly dangerous, and people didn't seem to mind she was risking her life, that we were risking her life, all in the name of getting the shot. After all, you have to make sacrifices in a war. What started out small, an outreach into the aftermath of a battle, turned into directly threatening her life. There were so many levels within leadership that neither myself nor my colleague was always in control, and the more we ran with this idea of shooting her in real-life situations, the riskier it got. Now the war is over, and I can't stop wondering whether we were any better than the people we fought. We almost lost our star. She almost died, because more people were playing games with her life. She definitely acted out and defied orders, too, of course, but we are the people who forced her into this position in the first place. It's all turned out all right in the end, for some people, not for others. For me and my colleague in the face of the rebellion, but we lost so much in the process, and I wonder how much of that is down to the actions we chose. Am I the arsehole? I want to say there might be a couple of child endangerment charges in this post. But then I remember the whole
Possibly.
concept of the Hunger Games, and then it doesn't seem that bad. Okay.
You're like, really? In comparison, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be
Bigger
worse,
picture.
couldn't it?
Bigger picture, Katie. Bigger picture. Okay.
So I want to start this episode with like a recap of how we got from like A to B here, because mainly we end Catching Fire with, I'm going to call it an info dump about the Rebels' plan. And
Basically.
then we launch straight into District 13, right, with
Mhm.
Mockingjay. But this isn't me being critical, because I know the term info dump gets used a lot to like criticize writing that doesn't really like flesh out the world or the action and just basically gives like the bare bones. And it's used a lot to say an author doesn't have a lot of skill. But I don't think that's the case here. And it's actually one of my pet peeves when people criticize a style of writing or criticize the way something was written. And I'm like, that's the whole freaking point. And here, it's the whole freaking point.
Yeah.
Suzanne Collins uses quite a few info dumps across the series, but they're always there for a purpose. Do they break the flow of the book? Sometimes. For me, I think at least they do sometimes pull me out of it a little bit. But do they make you do a double take and have to go back and reread the paragraph a few times? Yes.
Yeah.
On my first read of like the end of Catching Fire, I think I had to reread the paragraph like 4 times to soak it all in. But once again, that's the point. It's meant to make you go, wait, what? And to like be a little bit unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like Katniss is your narrator. She's been kept out of the loop for so long, and then she gets the whole story in one go. And so, of course, it takes a bit of a while for you to get your head around it, because I imagine it takes a while for Katniss to get her head around it as well.
Yeah.
So
the whole point is like you're blindsided just like her, right?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. It's like, oh, here's what happened. Here's how you got here. And you're going, what? Who? Wait, what? When did this start?
Why?
Like,
where?
How? Did it give me some logistics here? Like, but she does it so well in such a small paragraph to like give you the main points. There is no like 3 long pages of discussion. It is like, here's the rundown, and you go, what? But that's the rundown that Katniss will have been given, because she's obviously not important enough to know the full thing and have been clued in. But it does leave us all a little bit confused. So I'm going to break it down in the simplest way I know how. It's a very, very quick summary, and no, I have not used correct grammar. So, girl gets raped.
Yep.
Girl nearly dies.
Yep.
Girl outsmarts dictator. Girl gets noticed by rebel leaders, and girl can't figure out how and why she outsmarted the dictator. Girl gets punished because she got noticed by rebel leaders. Girl nearly dies again. Girl gets rescued from death by rebel leaders who tell her they were always going to rescue her all along, and that a place they thought didn't exist does in fact exist. And everyone is there now because her town got obliterated, and now the girl's going to be on TV again. Like,
again.
That's it. That's literally the thing. And is it any wonder why this is all overwhelming for us and Katniss?
Yeah. I mean, we know from the very start of the Hunger Games, right? Katniss has been very adamant to everybody that she never intended or wanted to incite a rebellion, right? She says it over and over and over again. Like, she certainly never wanted to be the poster child for it, the Mockingjay. Like, it's only when she sees that she can trade her services as the Mockingjay for benefits for her family and her loved ones that she kind of finally agrees to be the Mockingjay at all. Like, she holds out as long as she can. She doesn't like to be the reason that the people are like fighting and dying like for her. Like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But this is now a war. Like, people are effectively dying in the Mockingjay's name now. And that's a lot, especially when you aren't entirely sure you're actually dedicated to the cause in the first place, right?
There were a lot of people, I think, who say like Katniss is a rebel through and through. But I think there's a difference between knowing that something is wrong, wanting to fix that wrong for other people, and then being willing to sacrifice other people to fix that wrong. Like, we know Katniss is willing to sacrifice her own life. We know she is out for revenge to kill Snow. Now in Mockingjay, up to this point, girls wanted to just live and then throw a couple of screw yous to the Capitol. But
I guess
she doesn't want people to die on her behalf or to
Yeah.
be the one to sacrifice their lives. That's the problem. No wonder she's being held back.
I mean, there's a difference between a rebel, like a rebel, and like an activist, right? There's difference between the two, the level that you're willing to go through. But like we know, like this whole thing is going to go ahead without her or with her involvement anyway. Like it would just be easier for them to do it with her involvement. And when she realizes she can use her own face as kind of that bargaining chip, I guess some of those fears get like alienated or alleviated. English is not working today.
It's been a long day. It's been a very, very long day for us. It's 7 p.m. right now. Yeah, like I also want to make like a very, very clear distinction in these Mockingjay episodes here between all the parties that are currently involved. Because up until this point, the key players have been Haymitch, Plutarch, and Cinna, I guess. Like these guys have been setting up these pieces from the very beginning. Cinna with his like strategic costumes, and then Haymitch choosing to keep Katniss alive over Peter in the first games because her winning would mean more than Peter winning. Plutarch probably realizing when she shoots the arrow into the game makers that she has the necessary fighting spirit to lead the rebellion. They're our main guys.
Yeah, at least these are the ones we know about, like, and obviously until we get into Mockingjay. And then we meet Plutarch's film crew and President Coin's team, and then some of the rebellion district leaders like Pela.
Yeah, and like when we get introduced more to these characters, you start to realize it isn't just rebels versus the capital. So when I've been going through this, I've found 4 sort of separate entities, if you will, who all want different things here. It's just that 3 of them are working together, but they aren't all on the same page. So obviously we have the capital and we know exactly what they want. They want what they've always wanted. Nothing has changed there with Snow. But then I split the rebellion into 2 camps. So I split them into district rebels and capital rebels, because a lot of the issues that you get between Katniss and the rebellion come down to the fact that she is moving from having rebel tendencies or rebel ideas to slowly becoming a district rebel who is willing to fight. But because she is a victor and is known throughout Panem, Plutarch wants her to be the face of the capital rebels. And I think the district rebels and the capital rebels have 2 very different reasons to rebel. The outcome that they're going for is similar, but it's not the same. And the reason I don't think they want the same outcome is the fact that the district rebels have teamed up with the capital rebels. But I see it as the capital rebels have brought on District 13, who aren't rebels at all.
Yeah.
They're a separate entity who have their own agenda. Now, I don't think the capital rebels are as bothered by President Coin's agenda as the district rebels would be if they knew the full shebang, if they knew everything that was going on behind the scenes. Because you do see Coin and Plutarch as the leaders within District 13. Plutarch thinks he has more say than he does, but they are closer allied than Haymitch is with Plutarch. And that's why I really want to make a distinction here as we go through this episode between the camps that are involved. Obviously, we will be dealing with Coin in the next episode. And before I try and convince you one way or another with District versus Capital Rebels, I kind of want to co-opt our red flag meter into being a rebel meter. So where do we think Katniss is on the rebel meter at the start of the book?
I mean, she's literally labelled as this isn't exactly the right wording, but permanently just not there, right? She's I
think it's mentally disoriented is what her wristband says.
Yeah. I don't think she's really up for much of a fight at the start. I think at that point it could have very easily gone either way. I mean, I think she's angry. She's very angry at what the capital has done. She's very angry at what's happened to District 12. But does she necessarily want to go out there and be a rebel? I don't know.
Not at the start. So if you think of when she first gets there, and obviously we'll go more into life in District 13 in the next episode, but they get given a schedule every day, and she has training on her schedule every day, and she blows off all her training to go and hide in boiler rooms and storage closets and in all these like back places where no one can find her. I think occasionally like Gale finds her and they sort of like hang out there for a bit. But at no point here is she willing to go to training and actively fight.
Mm.
She is sort of brushing everything off. The big change in Katniss is obviously Peter. And all the potential, like you say, when she can use her services as Mockingjay to benefit others, like she obviously bargains for the victors to be pardoned, because and we'll get on to the next episode, but Klein has some really twisted ideas of victors and capital citizens and all sorts. But she uses that then to save Peter's life effectively. And there is one comment that she makes that makes me kind of proud for her character growth, because I think at the start of this book, even before we get into the whole I'm going to bargain my way of using the Mockingjay, she makes a comment. So if you remember at the beginning of Catching Fire, when she's talking about why did she hold those berries out, and she can't tell you why. She couldn't tell if she was a rebel or if she held them out, she'd be someone of worth, I think is what she said. If she was trying to defy the capital, she would be someone of worth. But if it was just to save a boy, then she was stupid and selfish and vapid, I think, is kind of the concept. And she couldn't tell you why. She couldn't tell you what was going through her head at the time. But now she knows what was going through her head at the end when she shot the arrow into the what's the word? Force field. Thank you. Into the force field. I think I kind of want to put about 50% rebel at this point, probably, because she's actively defying the capital on her own behalf now, and she had no knowledge of the plan beforehand of that was what was meant to happen. She wasn't a rebel, but she does say it was no accident, her shooting an arrow into the force field in the arena. She says how badly I wanted it to lodge deep in the heart of my enemy. So now she's like acting. She's meant to act on behalf of others, to rally people to fight and probably like die for a greater good. Katniss is willing to sacrifice herself for this. Katniss is willing, but she doesn't want anyone else to die, apart from Snow.
Yeah.
She'll happily have Snow die.
Yeah.
Unlike some other people who she's meant to be working with, who really don't care who they kill in the process. But we'll save that bit for next episode. But I think you can see how she has become more rebellious than at the end of the original book and the start of the second. Going into the third, she hasn't quite fully like transformed yet. Girl's getting there. She is getting there.
Right, let's first look at what the original plan was for these propos or these propaganda spots, whatever you want to call them. Because this is 100% capital influence. Like, this is the
100%.
Plutarch show. They dress Katniss up in like costume / uniform, whatever we want to call it, made for her by Cinna. Like, she has her makeup and hair done by her prep team from the capital, and we will discuss how on earth her prep team got to District 13 in a later episode. But then they shove her on a stage against a huge LED screen on like this battlefield. I guess in this day and age you'd call it a virtual production screen, and ask her to like act out this line, and the line is just so cringe. Okay, people of Panem, we fight, we dare, we end our hunger for justice. It's so bad. Like, it's so bad. And as someone who's in like film and TV and does writing and all that stuff, that is bad. Like, it's really bad. And like, Katniss is obviously not an actor as well. They haven't tailored this like properly for her. Like, her emotions go round and round in her head, but regardless of what she feels, her face is like pretty stoic most of the time. And it will be when you've been through that amount of trauma, I guess your face, you're not really gonna be in like the mood to like, you know what I mean?
Really.
And like she figures, once she said this, like there was clearly spent like ages like planning and writing and like changing and going through multiple versions of that line, because they all look so proud of it, and she just cannot deliver that line convincingly, and it is so sad. It's so sad.
I don't think anyone can deliver that line convincingly. It's an awful, horrible line. Like, every time I read it, my entire body cringes. And I don't know whether that's because obviously I have a history in drama and did a lot of AM drama, have a degree in drama. And I don't know whether part of me just goes, oh my God, if I was given that line, oh dear God, like, what do you do with that? You can't make that good. Like, you've just set her up to fail here. Like, the whole thing is so fake and forced. Like, every little section of it, like, not even just the line, but let's, like, break it down piece by piece, right? Because they've added a bloody bandage onto her costume to cover up an actual war wound because the scar's ugly. You have Fulvia, who is Plutarch's like assistant, I guess. She's almost gagging at the sight of it, apparently. That's what Katniss sees her, almost gagging just looking at this scar, because Cinna's costume didn't cover up that part of her arm. It stopped above her elbow, and this is her forearm that has this scar on it. And a prep team does something similar as well. Like, they remake her to what they call Beauty Base 0.
Yeah.
And then muddy her up again to simulate that she's been in battle.
Like,
oh, I'm sorry. Was she not already in battle?
Yeah.
Did she not already have scars? Like, and what district rebel is going to believe this? Like, it's the same shit the game makers pull in the Hunger Games, and that is hardly going to go down well.
Yeah.
And then can we just take a moment to, like, react to Fulvia's, like, classic line here? So she says, is she scarred and bloody? Is she glowing with the fire of rebellion? Just how grimy can we make her without disgusting people? At any rate, she has to be something. I mean, obviously, this, and then she, like, gestures to Katniss's face. This won't cut it.
Lovely. I think if someone went up to me and was like, this won't cut it, I think I'd slap them.
That won't do. No, that ain't gonna do, love. Like,
rude.
Oh, and then the classic, Fulvia comes out with another one. She's like, she's a mine of gold, honestly. We think that it might be best to build you, our rebel leader, from the outside in.
Healthy.
That is to say, find the most stunning Mockingjay look possible and then work up your personality to deserving it. What?
It's so rude.
Excuse me?
It's so rude. It's
Way to tell a girl she's useless.
And then it's just really funny because after that line, Haymitch just starts clapping and then cuts in with, and that is how a rebellion dies. And obviously this is the first time that, like, Katniss has seen him after they've, like, arrived in District 13, because he's been sobering up, as they call it, like, down in the depths of District 13.
They keep him segregated from everyone else because he's too hard to be around.
But it just shows this plan they have is just absolutely ridiculous. And the fact Katniss, like, cannot be directed the way that Plutarch is trying to, like, it's obviously no surprise to Haymitch, right? Like, he was their mentor for 2 games, and he just reminds the table of the reasons why they chose Katniss to be the Mockingjay in the first place, or more like why the Mockingjay chose her, I guess. Like, she moves them in her genuine moments when she's not being told what to do. That is the difference. Like, when she volunteered as a tribute for Prim, when she laid Rue to rest in a bed of flowers, when she saw Peter die at the force field. These aren't necessarily things that they mention, but it's things that I'm also thinking about that made me kind of connect, I guess, with Katniss as a character. It's when, like,
I think these are all things that get mentioned as well. I think they are. Like, I think you remember this beautifully.
It's when she feels an actual emotion and behaves like Peter, like not when
she has feelings.
Yeah, like not when she's told what to do. Like, she even says that, like, they should have saved Peter instead. Like, that's literally what she says. Like, he is better with people and talking to crowds. But Katniss, when she opens up to that side of herself that is similar to Peter, and I guess combines that with a side of herself that is more like Gale, so you get, like, this angry, emotional, like, this person who's feeling all the angry emotions, but is also, like, feeling all these nice emotions and wants to help people and all this stuff, and you go, and you mush it together. Like, that's when she becomes the Mockingjay. And Plutarch, the head game maker's, like, leading lady, but she has to feel.
Yeah, but, like, this is kind of what makes those comments from, like, Fulvia so bloody ridiculous. Because, I'm sorry, when most of those moments, like, moved people, when people felt something for her as the Mockingjay or as just simply Katniss Everdeen, she was in the arena, usually. not heavily made up, not
Yeah.
being told what to say. She
Yeah.
was legitimately covered in dirt and grime, and now you want to make her falsely grimy, pretty grime, basically. You want to give her, and I
Sparkly
love
grime.
this bit. I love sparkly grime.
Sparkly grime.
It's pretty much it, right? But then,
Oh God.
and I think when I was going through your notes to make this section as well, like I also pulled this bit out, and it's at the end after they've gone through the whole "when did Katniss move you" section of the little round table they have with all these like actual district citizens. When you get to the end of that, they go, "Does anyone else have any more comments?" And Dalton, who I think is from like District 10, I might be like getting his number wrong. I want to say it's from 10. He basically turns around and goes, "Wash her face. She's still a girl, and you've made her look 35. Feels wrong, like something the Capitol would do," is what he says. And the Capitol did do that, Dalton.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Well played there. Plutarch is Capitol. Fulvia is Capitol. The prep team is Capitol. This was all them. Like, and this right there starts to prove that divide to me between Capitol rebels and district rebels. They're working at cross purposes here. The district rebels are actively engaging in the war. The Capitol rebels are directing the story around the war.
But I guess Katniss was molded and primed by the Capitol and her prep team for the Hunger Games. I find it interesting how it's really not that much different, even in District 13, a very like anti-Capitol, seemingly anti-Hunger Games place. And I guess some of that influence obviously must come from Plutarch. He was a head game maker for the Court of Quell. He's from the Capitol, like you said. There's no way he has not been influenced by that. Like, that's just not possible when he's grown up there and was bloody head game maker. Like, he's taken that flair for the dramatic, for the Capitol systems, and just basically remarketed it for the Capitol, like 13 and like the rebellion, Rebels' eyes, which begs the question of how did they learn all these skills, right? Because I'm in film and TV, 2 film and TV degrees, and you don't necessarily need them. I have a lot of experience on sets. I spent most of my time in secondary school on sets of the weekend, going to film school. I knew what I wanted to do. I did it. But these are lots of skills that someone has to teach you half the time. And I don't think these guys necessarily have YouTube or WikiHow, or like Open University, like all these sorts of things. So it begs the question of how did they learn all these skills? Like, there must have been some kind of TV film education system. Like, the team starts talking about cut downs, re-edits, spin-off series, teasers, like they get from the footage that they've shot. Like, it's like it basically becomes less of like a rebel tactical meeting and more of like a creative content strategy session. Like,
oh my God, it's like doing like the social media marketing room, isn't it? It's like they've literally made, but it's like an actual, like, again, they don't have social media, which is what my reference frame would be, but like it is just a full on like advertising agency that they have set up in the head of in District 13. It's madness.
Yeah. And like, obviously Cressida, like being the director from the Capitol who brought her crew with her, she's been employed by Plutarch to shoot Katniss and the rebellion's propos. Like, she's described by him as one of the most up and coming film directors in the Capitol. Well, firstly, Suzanne Collins, I love the fact this director is a woman. It just warmed my producer heart really nicely. But secondly, like, what kind of things was she up and coming for? Like, this I don't know why this is my question, right? Like, what was she up and coming for? Like, does this lead us to believe that either the Capitol had a thriving film business, or were all directors just trained to film and distribute the games and its message and like propaganda? Like, I highly doubt there is a school for the film and arts, but then also, where did they learn this stuff from?
So
these are things to think about.
What is on there to this is nothing. I had serial killers in Districts 1 and 2, Katie.
That's very
I
true.
asked how tributes peed. This is
That's
nothing.
very true.
I guess it comes down to like what is the market? So like when Plutarch's flying back from the Capitol with Haymitch and Katniss, like at the very end of the book, he mentions that he's like producing a new singing show and asks if like Katniss wants to be involved. So I'm kind of taking that as he's wanted to branch out into like whatever else is on air for a while, but I'm not been able to. Like,
He's been
because I don't think you
typecast.
can, yeah, like, I don't think you can leave your job as a game maker. I think that's like,
Yeah.
you'd know too much and you'd be too much of a threat to Snow. So sure, like, that's like, it's the most noble cause to work for the Hunger Games. So then why would you want to leave?
Unless it's like one game maker per season, like some TV shows do.
Maybe. But then you would have thought that then, so like, because I asked, like, okay, so could they, because when you study any sort of like film course, so part of my drama degree did a couple of film classes, and you go through the history of film oftentimes, and you go through like the silent movies, the talkies, and you to the invention of Technicolor and the first ever animation and things like that. So I wonder whether they get trained on the history of film in terms of how to use those techniques for the Hunger Games, for the Capital TV channel. Are we saying there is just Capital TV network and then nothing else is broadcast?
Well, this is what I was wondering. Like, it's like what else is there?
But then, well, we know we have the talk show. We know they have like Caesar does his whole like this is Katniss's wedding gown. That becomes a whole thing, and that's like primetime TV in the capital for Katniss to choose the dress she's going to be, and then they're voting on it the whole time. So is it just like Caesar Flickerman live on air for like 12 hours a day, all day? It's just Caesar.
A bit much. Yeah, that would get a bit much.
Because I guess the capital relies on brainwashing its own citizens as well. So why would you distract them frivolously with other quote unquote meaningless, hairy fairy like nonsense productions when they can be seeing something that is looking hairy fairy nonsense production, but that is still related back to the oppression of the districts. But I also don't think that these TV networks are going to be that inventive to begin with. I think they just get told, because you and me right now, we're struggling with the workload that we have. You have a full-time job and we produce a podcast, and I have my own side projects and produce the podcast. And think of like how stressed out you must be having to drop everything for the Hunger Games. When would you have time as a creative within the Pan-Am industry to pitch anything new? Because you're always on Hunger Games shtick, right? Unless you're going to tell me there's some like reality TV show with one of the victors who is now like the new demo man. So they were like a capital home renovation show, but it's run by a victor. Like, and then I wonder, say there is a film education, because there must be in some way, shape, or form. Can you intern at the Hunger Games studios? Like, I wonder if people, like, the same way people compete for internships for, like, the best places, the best studios to work for, I wonder if capital citizens compete for that one place to intern at the Hunger Games every year in some sort of sick and twisted irony of competing for the one spot to win, to live, like the districts are. Like, is there a capital alternative? But then you get to intern at the Hunger Games and then you know too much and get a job for life.
Going a bit forward though, I know we're not on like ballad yet, but like they're doing Hunger Games mentoring for like education points, for like course points, for coursework. Is that not kind of an internship? It's work experience, right?
Definitely work experience. I guess it's an unpaid internship, isn't it? I guess
most of them are unpaid. Let's be honest.
I kind of see it as, I mean, I've never had an internship, so I can only go off what I've seen in pop culture. However, I'm about to say, I don't really see it as being like actually working for the Hunger Games there. I kind of see in Ballad it more being like, how can we exploit the fresh young minds? But I also guess that's what internships are for most places. How to get in some fresh blood without paying them.
I had a placement at a film production company, and then nearly had a placement, but because of COVID got cancelled at film studios. And it is basically that, like, you go in, you do Actually, no, to be honest, I was quite lucky. I got to do some like big stuff for some films and things, but I think that's because it was COVID, so there weren't that many feet on the ground. But I feel like if you're getting young people into the Hunger Games, you probably have them like making coffee, making tea. Then it's like, but you're at there, like you're learning. And I guess it gets people kind of brainwashed into wanting to like actually work in Hunger Games TV. I mean, there's a whole team that Plutarch has, right? There's Pollux and there's Castor who operate the cameras. So they've learned how to do that somehow. Katniss remarks how she becomes like impressed by Cressida, who Plutarch has clearly picked like this, who's clearly picked specifically like for these guys. And when they let go of this like silly studio propo idea and actually like start working in real life, it obviously starts to get like a lot better. Like Cressida captures the footage and the moments without much fear of the gunfire and the bombing happening around her. Like Katniss even compares her to Cinna, like saying they don't just do their work, like they take pride in it. So she clearly like lives and breathes, I guess in this sense it'd be like documentary production.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And big respect to Cressida for this. Like, she's out there to do a proper documentary. Probably the first chance she's actually had, because I can imagine that everything else in the capital would have been very, very vapid. That would have been the, here is your celebrity Victor while he demolishes like President Snow's house. He's going to renovate a room. Follow what it is.
Well, it's like Victor Bake Off. Anyway, I digress. In this like
Victor Bake Off would be brilliant.
In this like, it's just got tons of Victors just with knives. Like, do we think that's a good idea? No, probably not.
No, probably not.
The health and safety and risk assessment on that would be wild. Anyway, moving on. In this grand scheme of like the rebellion and this quote unquote reality show, or even to be honest, District 13 back documentary series, like I mentioned, I see Plutarch as the showrunner, Haymitch as like this producer, like this exec producer, and Cressida as like the motor, like the director's like keeping the story running, like actually getting all of the content. And just like Katniss, like Cressida and her team are not military, they're not soldiers, but they've become them for a greater cause. So and what's interesting is these guys obviously get sent to the capital in squad 451, and Cressida, Pollux, Castor, oh my god, Masala. I'm not really good at pronouncing names.
Masala's capital still.
And then obviously like all the capital defectors are obviously going back to the capital, but they're not fighting, or they're not meant to be fighting. They're
not meant
filming,
to be fighting.
but obviously that quickly like changes.
Yeah, it quickly sort of disintegrates, doesn't it? But it is interesting that it's the defectors who go back, I guess, because I mean, I guess that's the only way you could have camera crew, because it's not like you get that kind of skill developed in any other district anywhere else. It's always got to be capital based. Would that not be like, it's respect to them, because surely them being capital defectors, is that more or less dangerous than being a rebel? Are you more likely as a capital defector to not be killed but to be captured and tortured instead?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. I feel like if you're a rebel,
and that's a fate worse than death.
If you're a rebel of no significance, like you're not Katniss, you're not any of those, you probably just get like shot on sight or whatever, like nice, quick and easy. But if you were a capital defector and like, oh, I know you screwed us over. They're probably up to capturing and torturing, and like Peter,
and that's worse.
Like he sees the Avox as basically get ripped to pieces. Lovely.
Yeah, he watches Darius be like, yeah, and that's big respect to them, because they have to know that, and they are willing to literally like not even walk to their deaths, but walk to their torture before their deaths to capture all this footage on film. And out of everyone that I've met that's capital, and I'm probably including Cinna, definitely including Effie, but I think they're the bravest of the lot.
Yeah.
And very few of them walk out of it.
Okay, so let's move into the propos, right? They actually end up like creating in the end, because I think this is where the majority of the conflict comes from in this Reddit post.
Yeah, like it's important to point out that Katniss wants to get on the ground and see what's happening for herself. But this first, what is it? Propo? Like,
Propo.
what are we calling it? Propo. this first like proper outing is meant to be like a lot more chill than it ends up being. But in terms of the propos, it ends up being the right move. So I think we need to like separate out the true rebellion from the propaganda rebellion here as well. Because how does having Katniss on a soundstage help the real rebellion? Like, I'm struggling to figure out how it helps, because in districts where the rebellion has actually broken out, I don't think they're sitting idly by watching Capital TV to figure out what to do next.
But
no, the Capital...
Just to cut you off though, like the propos, aren't they technically for the districts who they haven't convinced yet?
But so when it... As far as I understand it, like the only district that hasn't been taken is like 2. Like 2, I think at the start is struggling, but everywhere else is like in full out war. Like every other district apart from 2. So like, okay, so if you are literally a full city in revolt, are you watching TV? Are you seeing any of the stuff that they're doing? This
True.
is a thing that comes up to me time and time again, and I think I'm slowly working it out. But the propos themselves don't seem to like actually help district citizens fight peacekeepers. There's no like informational guidance going on here. It is just like a keep fighting for Katniss kind of spiel, right?
Yeah. It's not like this is a whole description of how you can knock a peacekeeper out.
It's not like a full infographic. Like you get like women's ones on social media where like, here's how you fight an attacker who's like 2 foot bigger than you. You're like a 4 foot woman, you attack a 6 foot. How do you beat this guy? That's not what's going on here. Which probably would be useful information to disseminate. Like, here's the weaknesses in the peacekeeper's uniform. Aim for his ankle. You know what I mean?
Like, this was in my head when you were talking. I had the scene from Miss Congeniality when she's on stage and she's doing her skill, and it's like how to disarm a man. Like, she has that whole like acronym, I can't say it, where she like stomps on their toes and knees them in the crotch, like head. Like, that's the image I had. I feel like that would be helpful.
It back into the nose.
Yeah,
but that would be helpful, Plutarch. Can we go and have a little side? We'll take Plutarch off and we'll go and have a little discussion. Like, what should you actually be showing in these districts, Plutarch?
Yeah, but like now is probably a good time to mention one of the fan theories we actually discussed over the mid-season break. Like when Katniss and the squad go to District 8 to visit the battle, like Katniss is obviously, she's like greeted all of the injured people in the hospital, and when they're on their way back to like wherever they're going to get out, they basically they have all these capital bombers arrive, and obviously the bombers bomb the hospital, obviously a huge war crime, but we know District 13 are not against whacking a capital seal against a stolen capital aircraft and doing things they shouldn't be doing. So that's probably more for the coin episode. But if this was District 13 that bombed the hospital, like, would it be horrible to think bombing the hospital, capturing the footage to paint the capital in the horrible way that they want them to be painted, and doing something in the name of great TV? Like, Plutarch might have had a hand in that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. And don't forget, like, so someone responds to Katniss asking, like, why the capital would do this by saying that the capital has no use for the weak and the injured, or something along those lines. And if you've seen the mid-season content episode where we talk about this theory, the person who brought up this theory on, I think I read it from Reddit for this one, said that District 13 wouldn't either. They wouldn't have any use for the weak and the injured. But I want to point out here something that I thought of going through the notes for this episode, because in a district that is at war with the capital aren't the ones paying to take care of the wounded. In this rebellion, District 13 is the bank. Convenience is 13, not the capital. The rebels don't have any funds or the means to launch like a full-scale, like coordinated war. That's why 13 has probably been brought on, basically, because they have the wherewithal and the knowledge and the resources to do that. And then it all gets captured on camera and becomes the first propo. So really, like, not to use the phrase killing 2 birds with 1 stone, which is a very, very unfortunate time to say it, but I can't think of a better one. If this is District 13, not only would it be getting rid of a drain on its resources, it
Uh-huh.
would then be benefiting from what would have been a draining of resources. But then this is once again all very confusing for me, because what is the purpose of televising this? I mean, it gives them their main rebel slogan, thankfully, in the end, and like shows Katniss in action, but who's going to be watching this? Like, I know most TVs are programmed to turn on for national like broadcasts and things, and that's how they're targeting. They're breaking into national broadcasts, important emergency ones. But surely most rebels have pulled the cables out of the wall with their TVs. And surely this would be nothing new to them.
I guess that particular propo, right, she says, like, you know, like, look at that, fire is catching.
Fire's
Like,
catching, and
if we burn, you burn with us. And she's kind of directing that towards, also, great line, Suzanne Collins. Like, that one actually does slap rather than the other one. And basically she's directing that at the capital, basically saying, you know, like, if all the districts are going to burn, you know, the capital's going to be burning with us. So I feel like that propo was very much targeted. They might have like kind of tried to paint it for the districts to be like, you know, don't stop fighting because this is what they're going to do to you, but also to the capital to be like, you decide to do that, we're going to light you on fire.
I guess anyone holding out as well, or anyone is like, just leave me alone, I don't want to be involved. I guess it's kind of a call to pick a side, to be like, well, this war's going on around me, it's going to happen one way or another. How do I pick a side? How do I get out of this, I guess? Because I guess if it's all going to shit, you might as well try and stop it from, like, if you're like one like passerby who's just sort of like sat in the house just going, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, let me just keep out of the way, and you're hearing if we burn, you burn with us, that's like, okay, so this girl's gonna bring the entire fucking thing down. Okay, like, well, maybe if I fight for the rebels and we win, at least not everything that I own gets ruined as well, I guess. Maybe there's like, a bit of that going on.
I was going to bring up that, like, Plutarch's, and I guess similarly, Haymitch's ethics for like shooting these propos with a 17-year-old girl, like, isn't great. But then again, I remembered the bigger picture and, like, you know, the Hunger Games, and then realized in relation to everything else going on at this point, like, it really, that point really holds no weight, does it?
Yeah, I feel like once you've been in the Hunger Games twice, I feel like being put into an actual real life fight situation where you kind of have a team of people around you and a warplane standing by to get you out of the way. Though, arguably, Haymitch says to her at this point that they can't land while the capital's planes are in the air. So do the capital's planes not know that they're up there? Why didn't they attack the ship that Haymitch was in?
Does make you wonder, doesn't it?
There's a massive like District 13 hovercraft in the area, and yet these capital bombers are going after District 8, who are arguably not the big problem. District 13's arguably the big problem.
Yeah, this is why it's all a bit suspicious.
I feel like I'm just proving that that's what happened. But we will talk about, I have to shelve my thoughts on District 13 and Coin until
save that for next episode.
But let's go back into what is effectively this first big propo, because like after that they get inspired, right? They start like the We Remember sections where they target like each district with their dead, and Finnick like leads these, and Cressida says that it's painful to watch them because Finnick knew so many of them personally. So question for you, Katie, who are these dead? Who do you think is being televised if Finnick knew them? Because it doesn't sound to me like it's years and years of tributes who were reaped. It sounds like victors. Now, they're district people originally, sure, but are we really fighting about dead victors? The capital's beloved victors? Or are we fighting here about the years and years of children who were made to slaughter each other?
I guess they're like very similar and they do flow into each other, but the main problem, right, is the fact that children are reaped and killed for entertainment.
It's kind of the main thing, yeah. It's kind of the main one there. But then it seems like if Finnick knows them personally, Finnick will not have known every single tribute. He'll have mentored someone who lived on years when there were, but he's not that old. He's only had 10 years. It sounds like he knew the victors. It's the victors dead that we're talking about. And how many of these victors are dead is my question. That will be something I revisit in the next episode as well, because I wasn't quite aware how bad Coin was until I started looking at this book again. And stay tuned for that one, guys. It's going to be a doozy. But then going back to Finnick, Plutarch pipes up, because of course he does. And he says it is so effective because Finnick knew them well. It comes straight from the heart. Everyone's like doing beautifully. Coin is happy with all of them. Who cares what pain you're going through while you work for us? As long as we get what we want on camera. It's all fair game, isn't it?
Nice.
Who does this remind you of?
Yeah.
Does this remind you of yet another televised event run by a game maker? Who cares how much pain you go through recounting all the people, all the friends you made that you know and loved that are somehow now dead? Yes, Finnick is putting himself through hell, probably, reciting all of these. And this is a series of propos. This is a whole last series. This could go on and on and on. The more victors die, the more district people fight who are well known. How many victors are there going right now? There's 20 odd of them, at least, you would imagine, like, who are like fit and able-bodied enough to fight. It just keeps going on and on and on. Like, it's just the capital being the capital, basically.
They just want content, basically. That's how all their brains think, right? That's just how they're programmed now. At least the film team and Plutarch and Plutarch's assistants and all that, they're just thinking about content. I think that's the way they've always thought, and even now in the middle of war, that's
content.
Yeah,
give me more all the time. So what do you think of Finnick and Annie's wedding also being proper, being another thing that they use? Because slightly differently to Peter and Katniss, Finnick and Annie actually want to get married.
Yeah.
But the fact that Plutarch televised their wedding, has it planned for them, individual events that he wants captured on camera, it weirds me out. It doesn't sit right. Like, I like some of the touches, that the dancing's more of a spontaneous thing. And Katniss remarks that she wished it didn't have to end, but it has to, because Plutarch has one more thing, and that's Peter having decorated the wedding cake. And the wedding ceremony itself sounds like it's a really nice, like, touching ceremony. They are just happy to get married, but there's got to be a parallel drawn here between the capital and this rebellion proper, because it's another victor wedding. That they wouldn't have seen it without the rebellion, though, because Finnick would still be being pimped out. But it's one of the better propos in terms of ethics, but it still rubs me up the wrong way.
Yeah. I think it has a good meaning kind of behind it on the surface level, but I also just think, like, was it really needed? I get people film their weddings. I filmed my wedding. I don't know what you call it, ex-wedding or whatever. So I get it, but also using it as like propaganda.
Yeah.
It's a bit uncomfy.
I understand. I think they said something like Plutarch wants to show the capital that no matter what, there is still happiness, there is still goodness. You can be trying to bomb us into oblivion. And this is obviously after they have bombed District 13, after they have tried to completely wipe 13 off the map to show that they're still like alive and kicking and you can't get us down. It's very keep calm and carry on. It's very like something the British would have done during like World War II.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Probably did. Yeah.
I feel like if we'd had social media back then in World War II, that would have been a whole like Twitter tag, wouldn't it? Really, but like. I don't know. I still feel a bit uncomfy with it. We can't have a celebration for the sake of having a celebration anymore. It has to now be a FU to the capital.
Well, I know it's like, as I think you're about to mention, there's a lot of other things that apparently they can't do without Katniss having a camera shoved in her face.
Oh God, Katniss can't do anything without having the camera shoved in her face. Because I'm about to bring up the fact that after they rescued Peter from the capital's clutches, Plutarch then approaches Katniss and wants to get footage of her and Peter. And he says they've already got footage of Annie getting married and then Joanna training. And basically, like, that's everyone they rescued from the Capitol. So everyone's wondering, apparently, about what has happened to Peter. Is he working with the rebels now? And then Plutarch, it's this bit. It's when Plutarch says he wants footage of them together, Peter and Katniss, not necessarily kissing, but just looking happy to be together.
Hold on, how are you expecting them to kiss when, like, not that long ago, Peter had his hands around Katniss's neck trying to snap it?
Not in a good way, not in a sexy way. No, this wasn't a game.
Sorry.
Peter thinks Katniss.
Sorry, carry on.
Like, Peter thinks Katniss is a mutt, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Like, Peter, who has been brainwashed into believing Katniss needs murdering.
Yeah.
Peter, who almost like strangled Katniss the first time he saw her after he was rescued. Peter, who still has things that trigger him to become murderous, like, you know, the sound of gunfire in general, you know, being under pressure, being forced to do things. But sure, let's have them looking all cozy again. Let's just push Katniss and Peter together in the corner and make them snuggle up to each other and hope that our girl doesn't get murdered by him.
Or just, you know, feel really uncomfortable.
I mean, also, valid. She doesn't have to do anything at this point. If she doesn't want to, she shouldn't have to. I think she does brush him. I think she just like, nah, mate, not happening.
They're also 17.
In my head,
they're still minors. Again, not that big of a deal, really, in the whole context of this whole book. I'm just saying, child protection, guys. Panem's really failed. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, well, 13 isn't getting much better, and Plutarch isn't either. I am going to skip over District 2 and everything that happens on camera in the propo that they cover there, because I'll be bringing up a lot of that in the client episode next week. Okay. I don't think you know what I'm going to say next week, Katie. So I think I might keep that stum, because I have a theory to put to you that I am working on, that I have almost convinced myself of. But I'm going to skip straight to the Star Squad.
I don't even know what I'm saying next week, so I don't think I know what you're saying.
So stick around for District 2 and Katie will have figured something out by then.
Yeah.
But I am purposely skipping over that. I'm not just like forgetting it exists. There is a propo that comes up from there that is very spontaneous and is very, very powerful. But I'm leaving it for next time. And I'm going to skip straight to the Star Squad. Initial thoughts of the Star Squad, Katie. And I quote, the on-screen faces of the invasion is what they are called. What do you think of the Star Squad?
So I hear the name the Star Squad and I think of, like, did you ever watch Disney? It wasn't called this, but it was like Disney Channel Olympics. Do you remember that? Did you ever watch that? Where they had all these Disney stars in different...
That is vaguely ringing some bells in my head. I feel like I can picture them in the colour-coordinated outfits they had to wear.
Yeah, and they were all like running around in different colours and they were all on teams and they did like sports and challenge. Right, please tell me I'm not like hallucinating this from my childhood. Can someone please confirm to me that this was a thing? It was like it wasn't called like Disney Channel Olympics, but like that was basically what it was. Right?
I feel like I remember this. I feel like somehow I remember there being some sort of team sport, because I feel like I saw like Zac Efron.
Yes.
And like, I feel like he was one of like, you know, when they had the little advertising segments and they did the whole like Disney years or whatever. I feel like he was dressed up in the garb, not in his Wildcats garb, in like blue or something.
Yeah, they all had like different. It was like identical clothes, but it was kind of like, you know, like primary school sports clothes.
Yeah,
and, like, and like matching colours, and it had like everybody from Disney Channel. Like when we were watching it when we were younger, and I used to love it. But when you say Star Squad,
you think of that.
That's like that's like what I imagine.
It does feel like something Disney Channel, right? Calling it the Star Squad, I'm like, you're in a fucking war zone and you want to call it the Star Squad. It does feel like people of Panem, we fight, we end our hunger for justice. It does feel so cringe. It feels so cringe. So cringe. So they basically put this squad together, not to fight, but to like film Pretty Little segments. Despite having like Gale and Finnick and Katniss and Boggs like all together. Boggs, who is like Coin's second, basically. And then Gale, Katniss, and Finnick, who all have their own specialized weapons that I'll get into in a second. But these guys who literally have these like kick-ass weapons made by Beatty are meant to play act a war. They don't get to use these weapons for like, you know, the good of the war. They get to pretend they are part of it. And we'll go into like Coin's other orders like later on in this season, next episode. Because there's a lot that goes on within the Star Squad itself and their like trip into the capital. But right now, I want to just fixate on the visuals of this.
Okay.
Because Katniss has her like special Mockingjay bow, and there's 3 different types of arrows. It's voice activated. Like it's huge overkill.
Yeah.
Like compared to what she's used to, this is massive overkill. Gale has a similar one. Like his is like more militarized in appearance, and it's like heavier. So rather than being like Mockingjay themed like Katniss's is, but they each have their own arrows with it. They have like the incendiary ones that like make fire on things and like blow, and they have ones that blow things up, and they have like the standard arrows for like killing people. But then the big hitter here that I sort of fixate on isn't Katniss or Gale. It's Finnick's new trident, because Finnick's trident comes with a wrist cuff. And once he's thrown the trident at someone, if he presses this button on the wrist cuff, the trident then just comes back to his hand. Like he doesn't have to go and chase it down or retrieve it from like whatever enemy is slaughtered. It just comes back. Now, what does this remind you of, Katie? Because it's given me Thor's hammer.
Yeah, you were literally saying that. I was like, oh my God, it's Thor's hammer.
Like, it's giving
He is worthy.
Avengers Assemble.
I always knew Finnick was worthy. Bless him.
It is.
Cry.
It genuinely feels like you want these guys to be your, like, superhero faces. But, you know, more like when they're being sanctioned. I don't know how recently you've seen the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Katie, but, like, you know, when they're being sanctioned and grounded because they've screwed up and killed too many people trying to save other people's lives from a villain.
Yeah.
It feels a bit like that. It feels a bit like, okay, you guys, you can be the faces, but yeah, you have all of these skills, but I'm gonna like hold you back and I'm just gonna make you be our little spokespeople. But I'm going to also turn you into a superhero group who do actually no rescuing whatsoever.
Saddest superhero group. Oh, it's like you're the Avengers, but you're the Avengers, but you can't avenge. Or like you're the Avengers and you have nothing to avenge.
Yeah, it's you're the Avengers, but we won't let you avenge anyone because we reserve that right for ourselves. Basically,
make that make sense.
Because we need to capture everything that you do on camera. And therefore, if we gave you an actual job to do, we couldn't capture that on camera. And therefore, I'm not going to give you an actual beneficial task in this war. I'm going to give you the weakest bits of the capital in the world. And you're going to just aim arrows at empty windows, just so we have some pretty little shots of you with your bow fighting.
Okay.
So screwed up.
Yeah. So I think we're agreed that Plutarch and Coin have made Finnick, Gale, Katniss, Boggs, and their group of soldiers basically the sad Panem Avengers.
Sad Panem Avengers. That's pretty much it, yeah.
Okay, so going off what you've said so far, let's separate Plutarch's actions from Haymitch's actions. So Katniss remarks that she has to remember that Plutarch is not actually part of the crew, but he's rather like the head game maker. Like his success is dictated by whether they win the war or not. Plutarch is the showrunner. His success depends on like the success of the full show, not just like the episode or the season. Like these people have grown up watching the Hunger Games. They've grown up with it being a part of their everyday culture. If it's not because it's live on TV, it's because it's victory tours or it's propaganda of the games. It's like reruns after reruns after reruns. Side note, we know the districts don't, but do we think the capital has a more lacking and creative and maybe more exciting TV schedule? Like, I know we've discussed it kind of a bit more at the start, but like, do we think it's propaganda 24/7, or do we have like the Real Housewives of Capitol Hill?
I would so watch that show. Like, can you imagine seeing them like straight after their latest cosmetic surgery? Like, how does the recovery process go for something like what Tigress had done? Where like she literally becomes a tiger and like her voice has like the purr to it. Like, can you imagine seeing that?
And I mean, like, regardless of what else is available to watch, like, everyone in the capital has definitely grown up with the games and the propaganda as, like, the main thing. Like, do we think that Plutarch and Haymitch have realised that, like, when you're trying to get the districts and the capital people to turn on Snow and the people controlling them, that the only way to actually get them to listen was through propaganda of their own, like, their own televised death match, basically, again. Like, I'm starting to think that, like, death on TV is, like, the only thing that these guys will actually respond to.
Well, I guess like you've had the forced viewing circumstances like throughout all of the history since the Dark Days, right? Like, and I guess you kind of have to just you do just have to like co-opt that, and you want to get another narrative across it, but that you know that people clearly respond to that. This is probably going to be like a big factor in my later verdicts, but like, is Plutarch a rebel or a game maker playing a rebel
Mm.
here? Because like, I don't think I'm questioning whether his heart's in the right place, but more like I'm questioning his methods.
Yeah. Like,
Like,
Plutarch,
I understand,
like, he
like
really
you're
has
fighting fire
that.
with fire, but
Yeah. Like, he really has that, like, head game maker head on. And, like, even there, like, he purposely makes sure that Katniss's styling team is, I'm going to use the word abducted because I don't think
that's a
that
fair
was, like,
word, to be honest.
willingly, yeah, from the capital. And we will talk about their bad treatment by District 13 in the next episode because how dare they?
Yeah.
But, like, he's aware that, like, she needs to be made pretty and therefore, like, literally has a Hunger Games team there with her.
But I guess this goes back to him co-opting what's always been shown and what has been shown to produce a response, because that's the other thing the capital responds to, right? Death and
Mm.
beauty.
But,
That's
like,
pretty much it.
to me, it's like, are they really assholes for, like, turning the capital's propaganda tactic against them?
I guess it's symbolic, really, though, right? Because if the Hunger Games is a reality show that is heavily engineered, you are turning that exact technique that the capital uses back onto the capital. And is that
Uh,
not like really bloody fitting? Is that not
mhm.
like poetic justice? And that's like probably quite an intelligent thing to do if you're playing the capital at its own game. But obviously, like the propaganda machine the capital churned out didn't keep people under its control.
Yeah.
So like you have to question like the mode of dissemination when people are like already disillusioned by capital TV to begin with. Out of all the propos that they've filmed, I feel like Phoenix were probably the hardest hitting out of all of them because it was the truth.
Yeah.
You can argue that like when like they started filming Katniss in like real life situations, that obviously that was all true as well. But
Mhm.
none of it was lies, sure, but once they abandoned the soundstage, the lighting, and like the scripting, but then like I guess you've put Finnick back on that stage and the lighting, but now he's talking about what the truth of the capital is like.
Yeah.
When he's going through all of the not even just the we remember spots, but when he's talking about he's distracting the capital from their rescue of Peter and Annie and Joanna, when he's
Mhm.
talking about all the secrets that he collected,
Mhm.
is not the truth of the rebellion, but it's the truth of what the capital is actually like and has always been like. And that would probably like hit the capital citizens hardest, sure, because they know these people personally. But I guess you've then also just given a legitimacy to the other stuff that the Plutarch and the capital rebels are putting out, because if you've
Mhm.
shown that you're willing to show the truth, then it's gonna hit harder now all
Yeah.
those other spots.
Yeah.
But then I don't know.
I think.
So I don't know what you think. I don't know what you think about this, but I also thought maybe could it possibly help like unite district and capital so they can like forge something better together? Because I guess right now you'd have a war and whoever wins wins, but obviously
Mhm.
you've always had a separate capital and district. Even before the Dark Days, it's put to you that you've had capital against district then. I guess now you want to build something bigger and better. So are you now just putting everyone on a level playing field so that district and capital, the lines get demolished? Is that how that would work? I don't know what you think of that.
I think Finnick's story hits so much harder for everybody because it makes him so vulnerable. Like, I don't know many men who would talk about that stuff. And the fact, like, I think it's even more powerful that he's like also like a man getting on there and talking about that kind of stuff. I think it feels very much like this is the rawest version of Finnick that we've seen. Even though he has got a camera in front of his face and he is talking to a camera, it's still the most vulnerable that he's been, and that I think vulnerability is very good at uniting people, I think, because it is him at his most authentic.
Yeah, and I
If that makes
guess
sense.
with Finnick being a victor as well, he himself straddles a line between capital and district. So if you're having someone who is both be so human at the core, because Finnick is probably the person who looks like he has most become capital, right? Isn't that one of the reasons why Katniss judges him so hard when she meets him? Because
Yeah.
he looks like he's really enjoying the capital lifestyle that gets thrown to him. So I guess it being him in the first place, who seems to now be more capital than district, basically like lifting the veil on that persona that he was forced to adopt.
Yeah.
He's got common ground with everyone involved, really.
Kind of going back to Plutarch is obviously the poster with Haymitch for this episode. I'm honestly intrigued to think about how he actually got involved in the rebellion in the first place. Like, was he a part of it before he became this filmmaker and showrunner, or was he one to start with and then he was recruited by the rebels? Like, how do we think happened?
It'll like came about. See, I had a quick Google here because I was like sure that I must be missing something, because I also like finished this book going, well, what is Plutarch getting out of this? Why is he involved in the first place? And like, I know we do hear a bit more about this in Sunrise on the Reaping, and we'll probably like be revising this question again later on when we get around to Sunrise. But I kind of don't really want to use any of that context right now either, because there's obviously things that Katniss will miss, and Katniss is our protagonist. We are reading this from her point of view. Whatever she misses is what we are missing. So like, if we can go off what we've got, the way I look at it without going back into the lore that we now have, Plutarch like probably disagrees with a lot of the regime that Snow has built. Like that is the big things nationwide, but also like the little things that'll go on in the capital. And he now has Seneca Crane's job, doesn't he? Like he must have known that he would have been working his way up there at some point. So knowing that we've literally just watched Seneca Crane be executed because he made a mistake at his job. Knowing that Plutarch probably was pushed into being a game maker because you can't refuse that job when it's offered to you. Knowing that at some point it probably would be your turn to be head game maker. Like he must be living under fear. There's no room for mistakes under President Snow anyway. But then part of me still questions if he's equipped to run a rebellion. With the tactics that he brought with the propos to begin with, how did we ever think that would work? Because, and I keep coming back to this, do we not think the majority of the district lines have already been drawn? Like, who is Plutarch targeting? Like, is he targeting the capital citizens and Snore himself with these broadcasts? Like, I'm not entirely convinced that what Plutarch is doing is having any direct impact on the battles in the districts. Like, I know there's talk about rumors of Katniss's death, and then she has to like go on camera and address the fact that she hasn't died after she was like shot on TV. But there was rumors going around districts to begin with anyway. Like Haymitch heard rumblings of dissent when they were still in 12. So what's the difference now? And I think I'm coming to a conclusion. I'm wondering if it's less about putting this propaganda out to the districts and more to the capital, like I mentioned with the remember slots probably being like victors and not tributes. But I think it's predominantly going head to head with Snore. That is the problem, because no one ever gets to attack Snore on a battlefield. He plays mind games. So how do you attack Snore directly, and how do you challenge his control? You make him think that his days of ruling are coming to an end, and then send him into a panic over like losing everything. So you make him sloppy. We've already like figured out and established that Snore doesn't do very well with innovation, with his war tactics and his techniques. Like he wants to rule with an iron fist to crack down on dissent, but then he can't really pivot those tactics when they stop working.
Yeah.
So, like, is the propaganda machine that Plutarch runs predominantly at its core a mind game with Snow? Does it matter if any effect happens with district or capital residents as long as Snow thinks that this propaganda is having an effect on them? As long as Snow thinks that it is fueling the rebellion and it is sort of tamping down on his power. Like, I guess, is it almost reversing the mission that Snow sent Katniss on when he told her to quiet the rebellion down? Because then there was nothing Katniss could have ever done that would have had an effect, and Snow knows that. Here I'm wondering if Plutarch has figured out that this isn't actually going to logically be seen by rebels in the first place. Like we've said, who's watching TV? Who's seeing this? Who hasn't just gone, sod that, who is a rebel? I don't think it's going to stir them up anymore. They're already fighting. They wouldn't want to listen to the propaganda on capital TV. But it doesn't matter if they don't. As long as Snow thinks they do, that will then undermine his control, send him into a spiral and make him more likely to make more mistakes. And if that's the case, Plutarch is really bloody smart. I don't know what you think about theory.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I feel like we know, and we'll talk about more in Ballad, that Snow is really concerned with appearances, right? Really concerned what other people think about him. He's always thinking of what are these other people thinking about our family, thinking about me. And then probably when he's the president, what people thinking of the capital, what people think, blah, 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 blah. Like, I can't even think. We know he thinks like that. So is Plutarch kind of cotton on to the fact that he obviously cares what people think, and therefore he's doing these propos to distract Snow and distract the capital so that the rebels can actually get away with some of their plans?
So that's what I'm thinking now, because I can't see it as actually having any beneficial impact on the ground. Like, I don't think it's going to make the rebels fight even harder. And I don't necessarily know if I think it would have any harder impact on convincing any rebels who would be on the fence about whether to get involved. I don't think it would have any sort of harder special impact on those guys than actually seeing the fighting around them in real time would, apart from solidarity. But like I say, by this point, if the rebels have taken the majority of the districts or are well on their way, the only holdout at one point was 2, every other district should be pretty damn united. There must be flows of information coming in and out via 13 anyway. So it's got to be a direct mind game.
To be fair, at the very start of Mockingjay, not all the districts, I don't think, like, all the districts other than 2 have basically started to fight, but I don't think they're all secured. I think
they're all secured, but they're well on their way to being. And you've got to bear in mind that Katniss does sort of like fumble around for a good couple of like weeks to months there. Like, she is like wandering between cupboards for quite a while before she actually like starts to produce these propos.
Yeah.
Doesn't she? But while I can call Plutarch smart and really bloody clever in some senses, in other ways, he might be this book's version of Effie.
Right.
Because it seems to be a capital trait to be a little bit tone deaf.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw you all the tone deaf things that I picked out for Plutarch, and I want to see your reaction. Let me get comfortable. Let me settle in for this one. So let's go back to before Katniss has even said she'll be the Mockingjay, when she's arguing her list of demands. She's trying to save Peter's life from District 13's like war tribunal. Because at this point, Colin's like, they will be tried and found guilty of their crimes. And they will have whatever punishment comes down to them. And so Katniss is kind of fired up by this. Like, Plutarch notices, I think she says, like, you will meet these demands or you will find another Mockingjay. And Plutarch's in the room and he gets all excited. And then he starts planning the scene, the costuming, the gunfire, the smoke machines. Right in the room next to Katniss. While Katniss is fighting for Peter's life, she hears Plutarch discussing her act.
Plutarch, that's so tone deaf. I remember thinking that as well when I read it.
It's not
I was
even the
like, is
worst.
that really the time? Read the room, please.
It's not even the worst one. Okay, so don't forget. I think it might be the first one. I think it might be District 8 that she goes to. And Katniss says she wants Gale to go with her on the first excursion. Kind of just like for moral support, I guess. She can't take her mum and she can't take Prim. So
And kind of
she
what's
wants
going.
Gale.
Yeah.
And Plutarch just straight up asks her if she's done with Peter and does she want them to put forth Gale as her new lover.
They're 17. They're 17, Plutarch. So inappropriate. It's so inappropriate.
And Peter's still in the capital, locked up, being tortured. And then Peter, don't forget, he's being tortured. That's not, but he warns 13 about the imminent bombing on during the airtime assault, and immediately after they go into lockdown. Literally, while they are going into the bunker, after seeing Peter get beaten and attacked on live TV for saving their lives.
Yeah.
Plutarch refers to the situation as Peter's setback, and then warns her to maintain her cool in the bunker because everyone's watching her for I guess guidance on how to act. I'm sorry. You've just watched the boy that, let's be honest, the boy she loves, live on TV, being beaten to death.
Yep. After
having him spout capital propaganda, to save his own frickin' life. And it's a setback. It's just a small setback. But, be mindful of how you're acting, Katniss.
Why do I feel like it even gets even worse?
Yeah, and finally, This is my favourite one, personally. So this is after they've come out of the bunker and Katniss is above ground doing the little proper shoot there, because they basically want to prove that they're alive and well after the bombing, that Snow didn't get them, just to be like, you can't beat us. And it's during the bunker that Katniss has figured out that Snow is toying with Peter so that he has control over Katniss. Because obviously the more Katniss says, the more Katniss does, the more Peter will be tortured. And obviously he has no other use for Peter. Peter has no knowledge of the rebels' plan. That was the whole freaking point of him having not been told what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's just about how he can manipulate the face of the rebellion. She has a breakdown about this whole thing. Now, Plutarch doesn't ask if she's okay or what has happened when she begins hyperventilating in the middle of a whole ass panic attack. No. He says, and I quote, "What's wrong with her?" Because she isn't performing.
You have to remember, he was a head game maker. He saw people literally die. Do you think he saw, he was in that big room and he saw some of the tributes, get stabbed in the chest or something and fall over and not move? And he went, "What's wrong with them?"
Probably. Quite possibly.
He's dead. That's what's wrong with him, Plutarch.
Why is he not pulling that arrow out of his heart? Because he can't, mate. So I can't tell. Is he just desensitized to everything stressful around him? Because I've likened him to Effie here because of tone deaf, but I feel like Effie's always well-meaning. In a way,
yeah.
Effie seems a bit softer. Plutarch's just fucking brutal.
TV for you.
So, I guess now let's talk about the District Rebels. We've spoken a lot about the capital side of things. It's kind of been the capital who've kind of run the show that we see, at least. So let's talk about the little that we know about what is going on with the District Rebels. I guess Haymitch kind of represents those within District 13. He's kind of our only point of contact unless we are actively in District 8 or District 2. He is the one on the committee who is a district rebel who's able to weigh in on their ideas. Beatty, I suppose, is kind of also involved, but to a lesser extent. He's mainly in special weapons, but I guess it's worth pointing out here that he mentions that for Katniss's weapons, they wanted him to design a bow based purely on looks.
Yeah.
And then, I assume when he says they, he means Coin and Plutarch. And Beatty says that he thought that was a waste because, what if she actually needed to use it?
Yeah.
And that is how she ends up with like the voice activated bow and the incendiary and explosive arrows, which I kind of think perfectly illustrates the difference here between Capital Rebels and the District Rebels, really, because Capital literally are doing everything all for show. And the District Rebels know that if Katniss wants to fight, she is one of them, she will get her chance to swing.
Yeah.
And then I think Katniss proves her allegiance to the District Rebels in 2. So I'm not going to go too much into 2, but do you remember the speech that Katniss gave after they took out the nut?
Yeah.
So, like, we'll be going back into this next episode, but I wanted to quote here exactly what Katniss says when the train rolls in. She says, "We blew up your mine. You burned my district to the ground. We've got every reason to kill each other. So do it. Make the capital happy. I'm done killing their slaves for them." And then she like just throws her weapons away. And like slides it across to him. And the man that she's talking to mutters and says, like, "I'm not their slave." And she says, "I am. That's why I killed Cato, and he killed Thresh, and he killed Clove, and she tried to kill me." It just goes around and around, and who wins? Not us, not the districts, always the capital. But I'm tired of being a piece in their games. I think Katniss has proven exactly which rebellion camp she falls into. She's willing to sacrifice her life for that, for the District Rebels to take down District 2 completely. She literally hands her weapons away, but this is for her own personal revenge now. This is because she is District and she has been beaten and bruised and attempted murder on multiple different times. She has starved. She has had her dad killed in the mines. She has lived in utter poverty in the hardest conditions possible. And that's why she's pissed. That is why the District Rebels are out for this. It isn't for 13, and it's not for the Capital Rebels that she is fighting. She is fighting for herself. But I do want to point out that we start Mockingjay with Katniss hating Haymitch.
Yeah.
Now, which kind of makes it difficult when she has to work with him. But I wanted your input on this specifically, because what do you think about this conflict between the two? Because this comes back to the question of, have we figured out yet when Haymitch began caring about Katniss and Peter rather than the potential rebels?
I think he started caring about them probably in Catching Fire, which is ironic really, because that's when Katniss started fully acknowledging her emotions for Peter and all that. I think that's when he started developing, I guess, feelings of care, of friendship, all that kind of fluffy stuff. But at the same time, there was still very much this kind of aspect of a rebellion and overthrowing the regime has to become of more importance. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like, it is still, this is more important than how, I guess, to me it feels, I don't know, it's because it's the mentor-mentee thing, and with Katniss being 17, still effectively being a child, but part of it feels a little bit like paternal. Part of it to me feels a little bit fatherly now, because he no longer in Mockingjay has any duty really to look after her anymore. Like, previously he was her mentor and he was, I guess, bound by his job to do that, and now he isn't, and now he's doing it off his own back. So, and I think part of it as well is how they make up. So, like, quite early on in the books, like, don't forget, like, Katniss and Haymitch clear the air between them, because obviously at the end of Catching Fire, she's kind of, like, gone for him. She's, like, slaps him across the face and, like, draws blood because of leaving Peter behind. But, like, it seems that they recognise that they both failed Peter. So Katniss says to Haymitch that she can't believe that Haymitch left Peter behind.
Yeah.
And then Haymitch says to Katniss that he can't believe she let Peter out of her sight.
Yeah.
It's like they're equally pissed at each other and at themselves because they both dropped the plan at the same time.
Yeah.
But then Katniss wasn't to know that she was going to be, like, that was going to be such a crucial moment for them, because she had no idea about the plan. But then Haymitch couldn't have known that she would have actually separated from Peter in the arena, and she wouldn't have been able to find a way out of it. Like, they really acknowledged they were both to blame and then begin to deal with it from there. Like, part of the reason that they were annoyed at the other was because they were also annoyed at themselves for not being able to follow through. And that's where
Yeah.
it feels more like family to me. It feels more like a found family dynamic and like a father dynamic, because it's not necessarily something that you would move past with a lot of people unless you did care about them. That's the kind of losing someone, like letting someone be slipped torture. That's kind of something that you would hold against someone for a long ass time. That would be like a making of an enemies kind of situation, but they can move past that. I don't know what you think about that particular section of it, or
Yeah,
my
it does
take.
kind of it does kind of come with that like family vibes, or it's like I've hate you because you did this, or like it's like oh you did something horrible to auntie whatever. I don't like you, but at the end of the day we're family, we're blood. We'll figure it out and we'll get the family back
Yeah.
together, kind of thing.
Yeah, to me it gives like stroppy teenage girl yells "I hate you" at dad,
Yeah.
and then kind of goes, okay, no, I see where he's coming from, and I also fucked up as well. Okay, maybe we'll just like sweep it under the rug now. We'll have it out and we'll just forget about it. That is giving me those vibes, and that kind of makes me really happy, because Haymitch has no one, and Peter now has no one because his whole family's dead, and then Katniss ends up not having anyone, which I will get to in a moment, but it's kind of nice that they all have each other. I think here because now we have a difference, right? I think here we can really see the difference between District Rebel and Capital Rebel, and how it's the Capital Rebels who want to use Katniss as a pawn in their little rebellion, whereas now Haymitch doesn't need to be that bridge, I guess, between Katniss and rebellion. He can just be Haymitch, her mentor, her friend, her found family. Because after the first outing, when Katniss like disobeys orders to get into the fight in District 8, she rips out her earpiece that connects her to Haymitch and then runs into the middle of the fight. And then she gets injured and wakes up in the hospital bed. He has sat by her bed waiting for her to wake up, to then threaten her with multiple different progressive options of what happens if she ever disconnects communication between them again. He sits there and he's like, this is your last chance to wear this tiny earpiece, or here's the headgear that I lock you into that you will never get out of without my permission. And if you somehow manage to work your way out of that, I will make them put an earpiece directly into your skull, and then I'll always be there all the time. Like, Haymitch is trying to protect Katniss, right?
Yeah.
And Katniss keeps saying that the game is still on Haymitch, is still her mentor, but he can actually send her direct messages now, rather than like coding sponsor gifts and stuff. This is a massive advantage. He's now sober as well. But he's trying to keep her safe. He cares about her enough that he is the only one who's annoyed at her. Plutarch's kind of like not really all that bothered about her having been in the fight, because kind of like he got the shots he wanted, and his propos are now ready to be launched. Because of what Katniss did, because he got pure gold from her, he's not bothered. But that's not the role Haymitch has to play now to bridge that gap between the two. Haymitch can just be Haymitch from District 12. And if we look ahead to the things that we know about him from Sunrise and who we used to hang out with, it does really give found family.
Don't get me started on Sunrise on the Reaping. Not this time of night, Rachel.
Yeah, it's always easier to cry when it's dark outside, isn't it? Okay. So we'll flash forward a little bit. We'll move on swiftly to Beatty's first airtime assault. So Plutarch and almost everyone else is cheering that the plans worked, that Beatty has actually managed to get through the Capitol's like scheduled programming to break into theirs to stream what they want, basically. And Finnick is still and not speaking, but everyone else is cheering. But then Haymitch catches Katniss's eye, and they're the only ones whose faces are like full of dread, because they're thinking about Peter, who is spouting Capitol propaganda now and is being beaten and is basically like, you can see, like, I think he's like shaking and he doesn't look like himself, and they're worried about Peter. which proves to me Haymitch separating himself from every other rebel in the room, because no one else gives a shit about Peter. They've written Peter off practically. He's not their target. But to Haymitch and Katniss, that's the most important thing that is going on right now. And then don't forget, when Peter is rescued, you see all the things they're trying to do to bring him back to himself. And Katniss is like, I can't even be in the same place as him, knowing that this is not the boy I know. And ships up to 2. Plutarch's calling her all the time, basically like very willing to lie about Peter's progress. Like, I think he says something like, "Good news, Katniss. We've almost got him convinced you're not a mutt."
Oh, great.
He's just trying to keep her happy so that she'll stay performing for them. But then Haymitch is the one who admits the truth to Katniss, knowing that matters more, knowing that not lying to her now he no longer has to is more beneficial. So once again, showing that divide between who he is as a district rebel and what he values. And then I also want to point out, going back to this found family thing again, which might well make you cry. I'm very, very sorry, because I have to bring up the fact that Prim dies. Prim dies. Spoiler if you haven't read Mockingjay, but Prim dies.
Surely you would have to know that. If you're listening to this series and you don't know Prim has died, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong place. Very much in the wrong place. Sorry.
But let's
carry on.
Let's point out that obviously this sends Katniss off down a path of actions that end up with her being tried for killing Coin. And confined to District 12 as kind of like her punishment for not being mentally stable with that. I think the girl knew exactly what she was doing, personally. But she does get confined to District 12, and her mother doesn't go back with her. Because District 12 to her mother has too many bad memories. Prim was there, and her father died there, and obviously Prim and her mother were there during the destruction of 12 in the first place. Fair enough. I know we kind of like talked through her mother's mindset at the very, very beginning of this season, but I kind of can't blame her for this one. But then that would mean Katniss was going back on her own. Now Haymitch goes back with her. Haymitch, who now does no longer have to be confined to 12, where he also lost everyone. We can now say that he lost everyone. He does say in Mockingjay as well. We hear the full story in some ways on the Reaping. But he does say after his games that he lost all his family and his girlfriend in District 12. That is pretty much why he drinks. And yet he goes back to 12 with Katniss. 12 is probably not a good place for him either. It probably brings back the same kind of memories that it brings back to Katniss's mother. But he goes with Katniss, and then once Peter gets released and allowed to join them, he goes there as well. And they form their own little family. And Haymitch keeps geese. Like, geese. How cute is that? They literally say he waits for the train to come that brings the alcohol, and when he drinks up all the alcohol and the new train hasn't arrived, he raises geese.
Geese, Rachel.
Geese. So now, not only do they have Katniss, Peter, Haymitch, but they have pets. They have geese. And if that doesn't show how much Haymitch cares about Katniss and Peter, the fact that he faces his own freaking inner demons and everyone he's lost to be happy with his newfound family, I don't know what does. I don't know what proves that Haymitch loves them as like a father figure any more than that.
But obviously when we get into Sunrise and the Reaping, which will obviously be like our last set of episodes, and which will be in a while, well, obviously you really get into Haymitch, and I really just like feel that so much. And with the, oh my god, people are gonna like hate me for this epilogue. Is that when it's afterwards? Yeah, the epilogue in Sunrise on the Reaping, obviously with how life basically turned.
Bad.
That got me so bad, and I'll obviously be discussing that as well. And I really want to save that for those episodes. and I'm not going to start
Yeah.
crying because I'm pretty sure this is not waterproof mascara.
So I don't know. See, I'm not the kind of person who cries at the sad stuff. I cry at the happy, bittersweet stuff that follows the sad stuff. So,
I cry at all of
like,
it.
I don't cry that Prim died. I cry at Katniss's reaction to Prim dying and how much she loved her sister to have that ripped away from her. Or like, for example, I knew what was going to happen at the end of Sunrise on the Reaping, and that made me cry. I'm not going to lie to you. That bit did get me. But then the epilogue, when it all just got so like, here's how we've made life as good as we can, despite the hardship. I was like, the whole time. Tom's like, are you okay? And I'm like, tears running down my face. Like, is everything all right? And I'm like, it's just a book. I'm okay.
Like, this is like Sunrise on the Reaping. This isn't even a bloody book we were talking about, but like, it is one of those books where I will go to people. I was like, you need to read this. It is such a good book. It will destroy you mentally for the rest of your life. And they're like, oh, so we shouldn't read it. Like, no, you don't get it.
No,
like,
read it.
This means you should read it.
Read the book.
Okay, so we digress. So getting on in the episode, I guess we're now kind of going into the verdict part, where it's basically like, how much of an asshole is Plutarch and Haymitch for doing this? Like, is it possible for one rebel group to have succeeded without the other? Did this whole thing get handled the right way? Would another method have meant losing even more people? Where do we think they fit? Well, first of all, are they assholes? And if they are, where do we think they fit on our scale, Rachel?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it's only gonna be a small asshole. Because I'm not entirely sure I know any other way. I think if we go off the Plutarch playing mind games with Snow theory, I think if we decided that Plutarch was completely misled and that the propaganda had no impact on the rebels at all, then it would be, asshole, you've literally just like tortured this girl for no reason. Again, for another time. But I think it probably did have a big play, because I guess once you see Beatty's airtime assault, you kind of see Snow getting madder and madder and more enraged each time they break through. So clearly it is having an effect on Snow. Clearly it is screwing with the man's mind. And I guess that must have influenced how he played it. That must have. Taunting him like that. So I'm kind of going to go 20% asshole. Just to be like, you could have been a bit less tone deaf, Plutarch, but I don't. If we separate out Plutarch and Haymitch again, I could kind of put Haymitch at like 5%.
I was literally about to say, I think Haymitch is, yeah, I think
Haymitch is kind of wholesome in this, to be honest.
Haymitch is like 5%, and he's just doing best with the cards that he's been given. And I think Plutarch, I would say he's more like a 35%, just because the way he goes about some stuff is like a little bit dodgy. His team is a little bit.
He does risk a life a lot.
Yeah, he's a bit tone deaf. He could have been a little bit more considerate to how people are feeling in this situation. I think he could have handled it a lot better, but I also understand why he's done what he's done. So yeah, that's my thoughts. The listeners might have a different opinion. There might be some people who like really hate him. If you do, please share your thoughts, because I want to know.
Okay, I've got a question. So we're asking as well, is it possible for one rebel group to have succeeded without the other? So I was thinking of this originally in terms of, if we hadn't had the airtime assault, would the rebels have broke through? Now, I think the rebels would have broke through. I think it would have taken longer. But I guess you have to, if you're putting Haymitch with a district rebel and the band of district rebels who become the round table, Plutarch wouldn't have succeeded without the district rebels, because they're the ones who made the proposals good as they were. Whereas, so really, like, Haymitch is the star of the show. Phenomenal. 10 out of 10 win there, Haymitch. You really nailed it. Because otherwise, could you imagine what Snow's reaction would have been to Katniss on a soundstage? People of Panem, we fight, we end our hunger for justice. Can you imagine Snow's response to that? It would have laughed in their faces.
You know what he would have said? And that is how a revolution dies.
Probably. Yeah. That probably would have killed it. Actually would have killed it. Haymitch called it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Haymitch full on called that one. So, is it time to move on to our closing question?
It is, Rachel. It's going to be one hell of a beast of an episode.
This is going to be a long episode, but Katie, this question is specifically for you, because I don't have an answer to this. You're the one who works in film. What changes would you make to Plutarch's propaganda machine? Do you think there is anything about the end product that he overlooked? What would you do differently or the same? Oh, no, I do have an answer.
Okay, what's your answer?
What's your answer first? I'm not an idiot.
My first thought is he could probably be done for some child endangerment charges.
We'll get a child advocate on set.
They need a child advocate. Second of all, they need some medics. Can you tell I'm a producer? So I'm thinking of like all the health and safety problems rather than the bloody distribution problems. I think his propaganda machine, I would have used some of the like footage that they had prior to when the rebellion started. You never really saw them doing kind of like edits of everything, but like building up to when it happens.
I mean, like they kind of like cut out everything after they used a bit of like Caesar Flickerman like announcing stuff in the Hunger Games, but it's more like sound bites. I think they may have done like Victor spots, but like I feel like it would have been quite hard hitting to have like a memorial for like every tribute they ever had footage of. That would have I think
that would have taken like way too long though, especially when you're up against time for something like this. I think going back to shoot District 12 and seeing how it was destroyed was a good shout. Like I think that needed to happen. I think if they'd been able like going to like the hospital and seeing how bad that was, this is why I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting more and more convinced that District 13 were the ones that bombed that hospital, because it sounds horrible, it sounds awful, but it makes for engaging TV. It's like this whole thing like clickbait, right? Like it makes for like eyeballs. So I'm getting more and more convinced that it was them now.
So like the clickbait idea is what I do, but just not quite as terrible. I'm thinking more like, because I had this thought, and I might bring it up in another episode. And I just think I'm supposed to win this episode. I think I cut it out. But I kept thinking about how, how Snow does this big announcement on like emergency TV when they think Katniss has died in the Capitol in one of like the pod explosions. I kept thinking about like, why has the Capitol themselves not put out their own propaganda, but not like that style propaganda, more like, when we had like noughties media where you had celebrities that would fall in and out of favor depending on like how they were dressed and like making very, very small decisions, very, very big problems. Didn't we have like a politician once who fell out of favor because of the way he ate a burger or something? And like the news splashed like how daft one of the Miller bands looked eating a burger, and that became like front page news, and all these people were like, yeah, I'm not going to vote for him, he looks like an idiot. And it's like, let the man eat in peace. Like, why are we not doing that?
Yeah.
Like, because obviously this had a massive sway with a lot of people in real life. And that is how most, like, I guess, electoral campaigns run by, just like doing smear campaigns. Not even about important things, but like daft shit. Like Mean Girl style, like comments. Like when they're talking about, I heard this about Regina George. Like that kind of thing. Like, would that not have worked? Like, so I thought Snow could have done that, but could you not have had more Plutarch doing that about Snow?
Yeah.
Because he already started doing it with Finnick doing all the secrets. Now,
But
sure, there must be some...
That was quite late in the game, really, that they started think about doing that. Yeah.
You could have done that so much sooner. You could have literally started, like, doing the whole, like... They think that the reason that he has that rose stench is because of the medicine or whatever that he took, because of they're poisoning people and here's this and here's that and oh well, this is the conspiracy around this thing or that. And imagine like how many conspiracy theories we have right now in real life that have swayed people. How many snow conspiracy theories could you have put out to sway the capital audience?
I wonder how effective it would have been if they just put out like a public service announcement that looked very much like it was coming from the capital, and it was basically just an announcement that went to all the districts and to capital. It basically just said, like, in better terms than this, hi peacekeepers, we run out of cash, we can no longer pay you. I wonder what would have happened. You're all fired.
Yeah, like, I mean, we do this on social media now, right, as well, where we make edits of people from like political speeches. And my favourite one was making Barack Obama sing naughty song lyrics. Did you ever see those?
No. No, I didn't.
It was called like Barack Sings or something on YouTube. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, it would have like a Beyonce track underneath, and they would have clipped out the lyrics of the song, and it would be Barack Obama basically singing the words of the song, but in like speech. And like, how hard hitting would that have been? Like, God. And how much would that have undermined President Snow, just to be like in the middle of his like big speech announcement, and it's something like the Venga Boys that is singing.
I guess Suzanne Collins might have written out before those sort of edits were a big thing. But like, anyway, this episode is going to be a beast of an episode. If you stuck along to the end, you have done like incredibly well, and I really hope that we've really got you thinking about things. And if you guys have any comments on what you think about Plutarch, about Haymitch, about this kind of reality show system, do they have different types of TV in the capital? Do they have the Real Wives of Capitol Hill? Is there a film and TV school to learn these skills? I'm really interested. These are like the serious questions that I think about, and I want to know what people think. So please let us know.
I want to know.
Please, yeah.
I want to know, what song should they have edited President Snow singing?
Nice.
Drop your comments. That's my question.
Drop those comments. Yeah, that's funny. Anyway,
I think I'm overtired. I think we'd better go now. Yeah. I think I've got a bit too silly for the day.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. And next week we will be talking about President Coin, which is going to be we got some things to
probably
say.
The same length as this one, to be honest. Yeah. Strap in, guys.
Some things to say.
Good luck.
We'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks for listening to our podcast, and don't forget to let us know your thoughts on all of our potential assholes.
No matter what platform you're listening to us on, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, upvote and all that stuff.
If you like what we do and want to find out more, all of our platforms are listed in the description or show notes. We're a 2-person team, so any support or feedback is always greatly received.
Tune in next time to Once Upon a Red Flag.
Sad superhero group. Oh, it's like you're the Avengers, but you're the Avengers, but you can't avenge. Or like you're the Avengers and you have nothing to avenge.
Yeah, you're the Avengers, but we won't let you avenge anyone because we reserve that right for ourselves.